Hey everyone, Win here, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to create a one-point perspective landscape underneath the fall trees. Let's go! Okay, the first thing that you're going to need is a 2H or just a hard pencil. You don't want to use a soft pencil. A fine tip Sharpie or marker. I'm using a Tombow pen, a ruler, and a 5x7 watercolor paper. I'm using 300-pound watercolor paper, and it's on arches, but you can use any type of watercolor paper. And please forgive me for my voice. I've been getting over allergies and almost there. So you want to make your point midway. So you want to find the center, but you're going to work about 3/4 of the way down. And then once you have your midpoint, which is 2.5 inches from that 5-inch, make a diagonal line on either side, and it's going to end up looking like a baseball diamond. So when the batter goes up to bat, it looks kind of like a baseball diamond to me. Next, you're going to get your fine tip marker or pen, fine tip pen, and now you get to just scribble all over the place. This is the fun part. You don't have to be good at drawing at all. All you have to do is just get a pen and just make random lines. It kind of looks like where, after a snail goes by the sidewalk, you just kind of follow its meandering trail. And then go back over your pencil line with your marker. And people have asked, does the pencil resist the marker? No, not on this tiny watercolor. And now we're going to create lines that are spaced, but they get longer and longer as they get towards you, and they get shorter and shorter, and that creates the illusion that your eye is going back into the distance. So now I'm going to thicken the center line of the road. And these are parallel lines that I'm creating. And now you're just going to top those lines off to finish off your little road pattern. And now you want to get as much water in your brush as possible. I'm using lemon yellow. And we're just going to start with the lightest colors first and then get gradually darker and darker. I'm going to get some opera rose. I really like the mixture of lemon yellow and opera rose. Makes a very light, bright yellow or orange. And you just want to add as much water. You're working wet into wet at this point, and just keep adding as much water as you can, and just kind of let it fade off into the distance. You just want it very light. I'm still adding a lot of water. And now I'm going to start on the road with Payne's Gray. I'm going to add yellow ochre with Payne's Gray to kind of create those road-like textures and colors. And I'm just going to cover the whole area in water first. Has a little bit of Payne's Gray on it. And now I'm going to really let the water bleed around, and pretty much just lightly tapping the surface creates the interesting patterns. So don't worry about the water going every which way. You just want to add just enough on your brush to make it darker in some areas and lighter in others. So I'm basically adding the consistency of olive oil on top of wet paint. So I'm just adding a little bit more in, smoothing it out just a little bit. Remember to keep it light towards the end of that point and darker as it comes towards you. Now I'm going to get some permanent green. And now you can see that I've added a little bit less water and created a little bit more of the darker green look there. And I'm just kind of filling in some of my scribble lines, not keeping it uniform. Nature is never uniform. Then I'll add in some more Payne's Gray to my greens, then a little yellow ochre, just keeping it as random as possible. And now I'm adding just a little bit more into my dark and dark, wet into wet, which is burnt sienna. And then a little bit more yellow ochre and cad orange. Now I'm really throwing as many colors up in the air as possible, letting the wet into wet, just really going random, adding as much water as possible. And at this point, it's really up to you how dark or how light you want the trees. Now I'm adding Payne's Gray to give the illusion that there is the base of the trees as they go up. And you can see I'm doing this kind of sloppily. It's not, if sloppily is a word. I basically am not caring too much. I'm just throwing down the colors, just working them around. Throwing some burnt umber down on the base of the trees. Now I'm creating that illusion, so that's going to be the dirt on the ground. And just filling in some of those colors. I'm still working wet into wet. Bring up some more of those dark lines for the Payne's Gray. But you can already see the illusion is happening because all of those lines are going back into the distance. Now I'm going to get some more of that permanent green mixed with Payne's Gray and darken in some of those shadows. Still creating some more shadows. And now I'm lightening. It's almost like the tunnel is opening up a little bit way into the distance. And now I'm really adding a ton of Payne's Gray and doing some dry brushing to give that illusion. So dry brushing is a lot of paint and a little bit of water. And then on the other side, I added a little bit more water with some yellow ochre and just creating the irregular lines and just creating as much contrast as possible. So that could be a shadow on the left, adding some more green, another big old tree. The tree is starting to go into the road, so I better clean that up, mop it up a little bit with my brush, getting a little bit darker as it comes towards you. You can see that, I'm already done. I could add some more reds, yellows, and to me, it's almost about done. So at this point, I'm just adding extra colors just for vibrancy, just real random, wet into wet, keeping my tunnel open so I can see the light at the end there of the tree canopy, creating some soft edges. Adding back in some of my lemon yellow. You can see how the wet into wet effect is really making those pop. Add a little bit more darkness underneath the trees while it's still wet. And I don't care that I have some white areas showing on the left side. I'm going to keep adding some more lemon yellow. You can see how that wet into wet effect really just makes everything just pop and spread. And notice my foreground, that's the area right by my left finger, and it's drying up nicely. You can see how it's darker there and still trying to keep it lighter as you go into the distance, and that really helps create that illusion. Now I'm going to use the hairdryer to dry it all up. And you can see how much lighter everything lightened up. It looks a lot juicier. And now I'm going to add some details. So we're going to add Payne's Gray with hardly any water on my brush. And I'm just going to create the illusion that there's trees popping through the foliage there and create some lines. I'm using a thin liner brush just to create some of those thin lines way into the distance. This is the fun part of just creating some of these branches and trees that are popping up at you. And it can be so random. I'm just using green and Payne's Gray. Pretty much anything that will contrast those trees. But you can really get carried away with all of this. So it's really up to you. I'm just creating twigs way back there. So I'll just keep adding some more branches. Make it look a little more realistic. And remember, watercolor dries about 40% lighter, so I'm going to come back in and add a little bit of lemon yellow, but with hardly any water on my brush. So this is called dry brushing. And add a little bit of cad orange. Just want to do some more pops of color as it comes through the tree. I mean, you could use the splatter technique on this point, at this point. But it's really up to you how much you want to detail it. I mean, again, it could be done already 3 times, but it's really up to you how much more you want to keep working at it and how much more color you want. It's just a balance of not overdoing it too much, but making it look painterly. But I'm starting to get that fall look to it. So I'm happy with that. Now I'm just adding little dry brush marks just to create some more details. And I'm going to add a little bit more yellow into there. Give that illusion that it's really drawing your eye back into the distance. Little plops of yellow just to lights popping through. And now I'm going to finish it off with the road in the center lines. And I'll add a little cerulean blue at the top because maybe there's some sky trying to pop through. But I'm starting to really see the illusion come through now, and maybe just a little bit more. You have to judge for yourself how much more details and little pops of color that you want your eye to see. But just do it step by step, layer by layer. Just creating that interesting forest. Maybe add a little bit more of my lemon yellow. And I noticed that the screen doesn't pick up as bright of colors as what's in my studio. I'm going to add some foliage in the foreground really draw your eye more. And I'm just using now a lot of lemon yellow to really pop out the color. So I'm using very little water, probably 90% water. Sorry, 90% color and 10% water. And I'm just going to finish it off with a few more little details, and that'll be it. Now I'm kind of using the stippling method, which I just put dots using yellow and just still doing some more scribble lines with that permanent green. I'm going to clean off my brush and get some more of those dark pinks and reds. And that is it. So I hope you enjoyed this, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, I have a course for the total beginner. And if that's you, I'd love to book a call with you. And if you're ready to move on to the next level, then hit that subscribe button, as well as book a call in the very bottom of my description. And I'll look forward to talking with you soon. Thanks so much.